We're going to discuss a few of the HR key reports in PeopleSoft, One USG Connect. Lou's going to do a demonstration of a light report that is very snazzy, and then we're going to talk about what's coming up next and then take some questions. So what is HR data? It is any kind of data that is people-centered. It's job data. What is job data? That's your hire record, your promotion record, your transfer record, your retirement record. Training can be involved, benefits, payroll. So there's all kinds of information that's related to the person. However, we do have to keep this data extremely secure since it is highly personal. So there are lots of guards around who can access it, who can see your data. Our system, as most people know, is One USG Connect. It is a PeopleSoft Oracle-based product. Next slide, Lou. So this is our management of our data. Dr. Bolton, Sky Duckett, Leslie Hall, she's the data steward. So any request for data has to get through the data steward, and it is carefully scrutinized as to who gets access to it. One USG is the hosts our system, but GT personnel are responsible for GT data that's combined between the Human Resources Department and the Administrative Services Center on who puts in Georgia Tech's data. All the processing for Georgia Tech data is done within Georgia Tech. However, some of the central processing, like payroll remittance to retirement vendors, TRS, is done through the central office in Sandersville.
Okay, so what is HR data? So this image basically illustrates what's included in HR data. So from the foundation data, we have like department, location, position, job code, and pay group. Basically, every employee is assigned to like a department, and that department has a location associated with it. A position is basically like a person, like every single employee is assigned a position number, and that position number reports to a manager who is like another position number. And one job code can be like a collection of like positions, and then job pay group basically can group a lot of job code. So then like we have like the recruiting and hiring phase. Basically, the recruiting goes from like the job advertisement to like basically um, having people apply for a job, selecting a candidate, going through the hiring process, hiring somebody, going through like the onboard, the background check and everything that's included. Then once those like that process is completed, then like a person can become like an employee. Then there is a record created in job, which is like one of PeopleSoft table that basically will group like has like most of the field associated to a job. Like for example, somebody's like the salary grade, the position number, any record that happened for that job, anything that changed for that job basically appear there, who the person reports to, all of those stuff. Then like we have like the personal data, which is a separate table that will have like all the personal information, name, uh, anything that's basically personal in nature. Then like HR is also breaking down into like multiple sections. Once anytime we refer to HR, it's important to view it as like an umbrella of like multiple sections. Like you have like compensation, absence management, time and labor. Time and labor is basically once you go to like PeopleSoft, That's where you request to leave and check how many vacations you have, how many sick leave you have, or any type of leave you have basically available to you. Commitment accounting, payroll, benefits. Basically, we going through like a benefit period right now. This is the open enrollment when we go to basically uh, select our healthcare plan for like next year. So all those are part of the benefit, and we have also like faculty. Faculty data is also in part a little bit separate. So there is like a separate section for faculty. There are other external systems like the learning management, the performance management. Performance management is basically all of the at the end of the year when the goal is set at the beginning of the year. Basically, every single employee go through an evaluation to basically score their performance throughout the year. So that's basically an overview of HR, which is like a lot of different section group into like one. Uh, so next. Okay. What are the challenges with HR data? Some of the challenges with HR data, given that data is entered by human beings, and as person, we can always make mistake. We can have like fat finger and key in the wrong number and stuff like that. So some of the challenges is like making sure like the data, the quality of the data, if there are error or anything, making sure like we can identify them early on and basically notify like the proper area of HR to make sure like that data is fixed. As Taylor mentioned earlier, HR data is highly sensitive, so confidentiality is really important. It's important to basically keep data managed access and not let basically anybody have access to HR data. And who get access to what portion is very important. And as Taylor mentioned earlier, most of the access are approved by the data steward, who's Leslie Hall. And anytime we do anything with HR data that's not already defined, we basically go through approval through the data steward to make sure like what the data is being used for, who will be accessing the data. All of the questions that need to be answered are presented and analyzed and get the answer if like that person can utilize that data within those parameters. The volume of data, as time goes, the data get bigger by the day because every day there are like transactions. Even on weekends, people can request a leave of absence. All those create transaction. If I basically go into the system and change my address, so records are created every day, every minute, and some of the challenges are like basically getting big data and creating meaningful information for upper management and any employee or external stakeholder to basically look at something and get a meaning out of it within second or like really fast. So they don't have to do like all the cleaning that we go through, but they can get to the data they want early on and without wasting any time. So next slide. Yeah. So Taylor, you got it?
Yes, thank you, Lou. So access to the system. All employees will have access to their own records through employee self-service. That is assigned when you're hired automatically. Managers will have access to their direct reports through manager self-service and manager system reporting, which we'll show a slide on that in a little bit. And all others, it's going to be assigned on what your job is, what your use is. You might be a financial manager in College of Computing, so you're only going to be able to see certain aspects of job data, personal data in the College of Computing. Uh, there's different roles that can be assigned even further down to just one specific department based on their needs, and that is assigned um, through roles in One USG Connect. They are approved here at Georgia Tech, and then someone in the Shared Services Center in Sandersville actually applies that to the system. So access to the reports, there's different ways to access reports. We have reports and queries within One USG Connect, which those are managed directly in the system. Then we have light reports, which is managed here at Georgia Tech. A lot of the time we do have, we're using One USG Connect roles to define who has access to those reports in light, but that is going to be managed strictly here at Georgia Tech. Next slide. So key HR reports. Within One USG Connect Manager Self-Service, we have the System Manager reporting. This is a great spot for managers to go get information directly about their direct reports. So what can they see? These are only just four examples. There are several more reports, but these are some of the more key reports. It has the employee job data, which is going to contain what their job title is, how long they've been in their role, what's their salary, very basic job information, but it's easily accessible to a manager for their direct reports. We can look at the employee absence balances too, which is nice to do because you can say, hey, so and so, it's about the end of the year and you've got 360 hours. You might want to think about taking some time off and not losing it. So that's important to keep on top of that. Their absence activity. So it's going to report on a parameters that you put in what a person has taken: sick leave, vacation leave, education support leave. If you have comp leave eligible, that's going to report in there, or deferred holiday if that's something that's in your area. One of the most important ones is the reported time not approved. So that if you have biweekly employees, you always want to keep on top of that and make sure their time is approved. So this is accessible in One USG Connect through Manager Self-Service, and there is the tile presented here on the screen called System Manager Reporting. But go out and explore that for your direct reports and see all kinds of queries that you can get in reporting.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a quick demo of like the current employee One USG report. So let me exit this presentation mode and try to get to the browser. Oh, hold on. Oh, I might have accidentally stopped sharing. Let me get back, find the link. Okay. Sorry about the interruption. And okay, so this is an example. This is one of the light reports, and the idea of this report is to allow people to quickly see, like, get some information about the employee headcount quickly. And this report has like two tabs basically. We have the unduplicated headcount and the duplicated headcounts. And what's the difference? Basically, the unduplicated headcount count the person, basically how many employees we have. The duplicated headcount how many job there are. Uh, what I mean by that is, like, I can be a student, for example, and I'm allowed to work 20 hours a week. And for those 20 hours, maybe I have like four jobs. maybe 2 hours in one department, and so on. So for the unduplicated count, that I will appear only once on this report right here. But when I get to the duplicated count, since I'm counting jobs there, since I have four jobs, I will appear 4 times. So in that scenario, when I come to this and I select a department, I will be associated with the earliest record. And what I mean by that is a job, basically, every employee will have like an employee ID, and then like they have records. And the record can be 0, 1, and so on. So the lowest record will be selected for this. So if the lowest record is department ABC, for example. So once I select that department right here, that person will appear. But their other job, if they also appear in department X, since this is the unduplicated count, then they will not appear there. To see them in every single department, I will have to switch to the duplicated count. So the unduplicated count, this basically give like the number of like employees, basically person at the institution, and then like basically the duplicated count will give like the number of job, if that makes sense. And this report is basically I will not drill down too much into like the areas, but it basically where here people in GTRI and RI can directly access their data by selecting one of these. And these department basically up to like 100, those are like GTRI department. And this report, once I click on one area, it basically filters the data for the for that department and only show the count for that department. Uh, okay, yeah, I selected a department of one. But yeah, it's basically as I click on data, it filters all the reports. So if from here I go to like select like only the mail, it will filter the report as I click on any area. So it's a lot easier for people to get to some counts. Uh, in an interactive manner. And I can basically, if I want to only look at faculty, I can click on faculty and it will filter all the rest. So so the report has like basically the ethnic group, gender, employee type, either part-time or full-time, race and ethnicity. And the unduplicated count is basically the duplicated count is basically the same. It's just like the count is a little bit higher because like people will appear more than once, and this impact a lot people that are like students and stuff. And there are faculty also member that will have like primary job in another one USG institution, and the secondary job is at Georgia Tech. In those scenarios, those people will appear in the unduplicated count. They still appear in the duplicated count, but their secondary job will be basically the Georgia Tech primary job. So they will be counted once in the unduplicated count area. So this is basically an example of the report, getting a lot of data and trying to simplify it so people can get to the information they want in an easy, understandable manner. Because like this type of report, even if you use it on your mobile phone or tablet or anything like that, you can still have like the interactivity and be able to access your data a lot quicker. So let me get back to the presentation. Okay, so that was the demo, and let me go on to the next slide. Yeah, Taylor, you want to go ahead?
I do. Thank you for that presentation. That's a great report. Very useful. So, what's coming next? We know Unified ERP is right around the corner. Um, Not sure if official announcements have been made yet, but there is, I think, a selection being made. I have not got confirmation on that. But anyway, that's going to be coming. So how's that going to change for us? Well, we're still going to have to do all this reporting. We're just going to have to figure out how to convert it from Georgia Tech legacy to USG legacy to whatever we're coming to. So that's going to be a challenge for the data analytics group and Lou's group to get that done. So additional reports that the HR data analytics team is working on. We're working on a business partner scorecard. That's with of course, with the business partner group, but that's coming out. It's going to be basically a one page where we're going to have hire statistics, termination statistics, exit interview data, stuff like that. So it's going to be very useful for the HR community to get that. We have performance management reporting that we're working on too. Also, learning management with with the Genius Citizen having transferred for administration of that to the HRS group. Both the EADI team and the HR data analytics team are working on some learning management reporting. So that's what's coming next. Hopefully, within a very short amount of time on some of those.
Yeah, thank you, Taylor. Yeah, like Taylor mentioned, like with the new ERP, there are always like work involved. Because it's often like moving from one instance, even if it's like the same software, and going into like another instance. So a lot of data that is like, for example, when we went from PeopleSoft, Georgia Tech PeopleSoft to One USG PeopleSoft, a lot of ways of doing reports when we had like Georgia Tech PeopleSoft changed and some of the value changed. So we will be having like the current system will become historical data, then the new system will become the live data. Then people will still need access to that historical data until like the new system builds a lot of history. So how to bridge that gap? Those are some of the challenges Taylor is mentioning, and basically converting the current data going into whatever the new system is. So it will definitely be like a lot of work and a lot of back and forth. And when it comes to light and light reporting, what we are working on to make sure like security is streamlined, um, we have like designed like script to basically probably be implemented earlier next year, or since like we basically at the end of the year. And the goal is like to basically take access that's in PeopleSoft. People can get like security class access that can be like, to start with, any employee has access to their own data in a limited environment within One USG Connect. So the idea is like to mimic that same thing on the reporting side. Most of the report, once you access it, you can see your own data. Then there are people that have like elevated access, like for example, HR business partner, or somebody has been, because of their job, they have been granted some type of like permission, and they can see their whole department data. The idea is like to basically automatically, for those reports, grant those people access to see those data, so they don't have to keep on going asking left and right those data. And then basically we setting up also like access, so like a manager can see their data, but for example, let's say there is like a vice president of an area, the vice president of that area can see everybody in that area. So basically, somebody can see their direct report and anybody that reports to those person. So if I have like five direct report, and those five direct report have like a total of like 70 uh, reports. So basically, I will be able to see those five report and all those 70 people below it. So that's the idea moving forward, basically how we plan on enhancing the light security on the HR side. And this process will also be at some point expanded to other area. In terms of
And
data, yeah,
I
go
will
ahead.
interrupt real quick, Lou, and
Yeah,
say, hey, as the HR data analytics manager, I'm very excited. This new role is coming out. We're going to be able to really use it.
yeah, yeah. And some of the things we spend a lot of time on is like data modeling and like making sure like the data is accurate. Prior to building any report or any time like a field, we need to add a field to the report. It might be one field, but at the database level, it might be a lot of connection. Bringing in one field can basically create a lot of duplicate and create a lot of unintended consequence. So we spend a lot of time making sure like the data is modeled properly, and a lot of the modeling is done at the ETL level. So we make sure like we export a lot of the heavy lift to the ETL team, Oksana and Dan, to basically do a lot of the modeling. And the reason for this is like the SQL is not stored in somebody's area. And once the logic is modeled upstream, if there is a problem, they can just identify the problem there and fix it, and it will update all the reports that are using it below. But if it's localized and that person lives, it become problematic to do like knowledge transfer. And as a team, we are using like DevOps a lot to basically make sure like all of our processes are shared, like the code are not on somebody's computer. So we spend a lot of time basically making sure like the data is accurate. Also, like the data consolidation. What we have noticed lately is like with a lot of new employees being onboarded to use Tableau to create their own reports, is like sometimes like we have like a lot of version of the same data source. And what we're trying to do is basically consolidate those data sources as much as possible, and when it makes sense to separate them, we separate them, but make sure like the naming its name in a way that anybody can understand it, and basically work with the onboarded team to make sure like those make sense. And that's a process we are going through right now. We identify a lot of data source on the HR side, for example, that we are going through cleaning and consolidating, and then like applying the new security model. So if I'm a report builder in one area, once I log into like Tableau, I pull in a data source, I can see the data related to my area. If I don't have access to see data related to another department, then I will not see those departments. So that developer will not be waiting on contacting a lot of people to get that data or try to obtain those data in a flat file. And if that person needs like an elevated access, they can just go into like one USG and request that access. Then that access request is went routed to Leslie Hall. Once approved, that person will automatically be able to see like those additional data departments without the reporting team doing anything. So, in a nutshell, that's basically the presentation for today. So, Taylor, I don't know if you have more to add, and I'm gonna go to the next page.
Sure. Just to add on to what Lou's talking about our data sources. Um, Anytime there's any questions with the data or understanding the data, please feel free to reach out to me or anybody on the HR data analytics team to get explanation. Sometimes it's not quite as intuitive as you think, just so that we can have consistent messaging and clear data across all campus. Just feel free to contact us at any time.
Yeah, thank you, Taylor, for the update. Um, Yeah, so we opening the floor for if you have any questions. I don't know if somebody is monitoring the chat.
Yeah, Jennifer had a question, but it looks like Taylor already responded to it, so that's good. But I did want to just post to the audience here. Thank you again for attending, and thanks to Lou and Taylor for presenting on HR data. They're definitely the SMEs in that area. And if again, if y'all have any questions, Taylor said you could contact him directly, so feel free to flood his inbox with all your questions.
And same
Feel
here.
free.
Same with Lou. Yeah, send all
Yeah,
your all
Yeah,
your questions that way.
yeah.
But yeah, if you do have a question, if anything's popping in your mind, please put it into the chat. I am going to put the feedback link, and Lou has put it up on the screen as well. Please definitely give your feedback. It definitely helps us to improve these sessions and to meet your needs better. If you have particular research questions or just trying to day-to-day operation questions related to HR data, we definitely want to be able to address those at a broader scale. I do also want to pose to the audience, if you have, what are some of the questions that you are trying to answer related to HR data? Does anybody have anything like that? Something that they've encountered in their work recently? And while folks are putting those questions or thoughts into the chat, I want to just ask again if maybe Lou and Taylor, if y'all can talk through again, if they do have, let's say, questions about the various reports that are out there, how can they go explore just to see, first of all, do they have access? And then after that, what do they do?
So within One USG Connect, there is the query manager. If you have access to that, the reports of which you can have access will you can search for them. Manager self-service, again, the system manager reporting. That'll be direct report information. It'll list the various queries within One USG Connect that you can run. Lou, if you want to talk about the light side of it.
Yeah, for Light, basically, as a department, we are transitioning into like a new platform in service now. So once that portal is ready, it would be a lot easier to submit requests there. Right now, like access requests are being routed through like One USG Connect. Um, People can basically reach out to me, and uh, I think early next year the website should be ready for the whole data services department to be able to submit requests. The way access works, basically, when you try to access a report, if you don't have access to it online, depending on if the report was built in Cagnos or Tableau, you might probably get a blank page. If it's Cagnos, you might get like access not authorized. So if anything like that happened, you can reach out to me and I would be able to route the request to the proper data steward and get a feedback if you can be granted access or not. I will also add like there are some reports on Light currently that have been developed for specific groups. They haven't been developed for like the whole university as a whole. So if we happen to be one of those reports, the data steward will still have to basically reach out to those specific units and get like uh, a yes or no on the access request.
Gotcha. Thanks, Lou. Thanks, Taylor, for those additional details.
You're
I
welcome.
do see, oh, got some back and forth. Point from Judy. Her point was having to do with job titles and trying to figure out who is a student and who is staff. And it looks like Taylor and Nick have been responding to that.
So yeah, there is a couple of different ways we can do it. One of the ways is using specific job codes, which I will have find and put into an email to whoever needs it. And as Nick mentioned, there is a primary affiliation and employee class. Now, primary affiliation is not a native HCM field, but it is something we have access to.
Great. Thanks, y'all.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you everybody for attending. If you have any question or need like more detail on anything, please let us know.
Yes, and just join me in giving Lou and Taylor again another round of applause, and thank you for presenting for us and giving some of your time. So thank you all for attending. Our next session is at 1:30, so in about 21 minutes or so. We got a little bit of a break. So